You're standing on the first tee. You make what feels like a smooth, clean swing, and you watch two of your buddies fly the ball 20, 30 yards past you while your shot drops out of the sky and rolls to a stop like it hit a wall. You tell yourself, it's your swing. It's your age. It's the fact that they hit the gym and you don't. That's what I told myself for years. But I want to tell you what I found when I finally stopped guessing and started testing. The ball I was paying the most money for was the exact ball stealing my distance. At a swing speed around 75 miles per hour, the premium tour ball everybody worships was actively working against me. And the cheap-looking ball I was too proud to play gave me back yards I thought I'd lost forever. This isn't a secret anymore because it was hidden. It's a secret because it got drowned out. There was a time when club golfers matched the ball to their own swing as a matter of common sense. Then the marketing money got involved, and that common sense got buried under a pile of glossy ads and tour player endorsements. Stay with me, because near the end I'm going to share something I dug out of old cold weather ball research that nobody talks about on the first tee. It's a trick you can use this weekend, with the balls already in your bag, that adds yards without changing a single thing about your swing. And it works on your regular Saturday round, on your home course, in your normal weather, with the body you have right now. Let me take you back to how wrong I was. For most of my adult life, I bought the most expensive golf ball on the shelf. I did it without thinking. I walked into the shop, I looked at the wall, and I reached for the box that cost around $50 a dozen. In my head, the logic was simple. The best players in the world play that ball. The best players hit it the farthest and the straightest. Therefore, if I play that ball, I get closer to them. That's the story I bought, over and over, one sleeve at a time. I remember the exact afternoon the doubt started. It was a slow Tuesday on a little 9-hole track outside my town, the kind of place with a gravel lot and a rusted ball washer on every other tee. I was playing with an older gentleman I'd just met, a retired machinist who had to be pushing 75. He had a swing so slow and easy it looked like he was swinging underwater. And on the third hole, a short par 4, he outdrove me. Not by a little, by a solid 15 yards. I laughed it off. Then he did it again on the 5th, and the 7th. Finally, I asked him what ball he was playing, half expecting some secret expensive model. He pulled it out of his pocket, tossed it to me, and it was one of those soft, low-cost balls I'd always sneered at. Something I'd have been embarrassed to tee up in front of my regular group. He looked at me and said something I've never forgotten. He said, "Son, you're swinging a ball that's too hard for you to squeeze." I had no idea what he meant, but it lodged in my brain like a splinter. Too hard to squeeze. What did squeezing have to do with anything? I went home that night and started reading, and what I found cracked my whole understanding of the game wide open. Here's the thing nobody explained to me in plain language. A golf ball is not a solid rock. It has a core, and that core is designed to compress, to squash at the moment of impact, and then spring back and launch the ball forward. That squash and spring is where your distance comes from. The stiffer the core, the more force it takes to compress it. And if you don't hit the ball hard enough to fully squeeze that core, you never get the spring back. You're leaving energy on the table. You're basically hitting a ball that never wakes up. The premium tour balls, the ones I was paying top dollar for, are built with firmer, higher compression cores. They're engineered for players who swing the club well over 100 miles per hour. Those players hit the ball so hard that they need that firmer core just to keep the ball under control. But at 75 miles per hour, I wasn't compressing that core anywhere close to the way it was designed to be compressed. I was that machinist phrase come to life. I was swinging a ball too hard for me to squeeze. Therefore, the very feature that makes a tour ball great for a professional was the feature robbing me blind. Now let me show you where all this came from, because the history is the part that made me feel like a fool for not knowing sooner. Compression isn't some new marketing gimmick. The idea goes back further than most people alive today. In 1898, a man named Coburn Haskell, working with a fellow from the B.F. Goodrich Company, patented a golf ball with a rubber core wound tight with rubber thread. Before that, golfers played a solid ball made of a dried tree sap called gutta percha, and it was miserable for the average player, hard as a stone and punishing. When Haskell's rubber-wound ball came along, it changed everything because it compressed. It gave the ordinary golfer that spring-back effect for the very first time. A player named Walter Travis won the United States Amateur with it in 1901, and after that there was no going back. For decades after, golfers understood something in their bones that we've forgotten. They knew that a ball had a compression rating, and they knew you were supposed to match it to your own strength and swing. Pro shops used to stock balls labeled clearly by compression. There was a low compression ball, often marked around 80, and a high compression ball, often marked around 100. Older players, women, juniors, anyone with a smoother, slower swing, they were told plainly to play the 80. The strong, fast players played the 100. It was ordinary knowledge, it was on the box, nobody thought it made you less of a golfer. Then, in 1971, the Spalding Company introduced a two-piece ball called the Top Flight, with a solid core and a tough cover, and the whole industry started shifting. The technology got better and better, and somewhere along the way, the marketing decided that everybody, and I mean everybody, should aspire to play the same ball the tour professionals played. The message flipped. Instead of match the ball to your swing, it quietly became play the best ball, and the best ball is the one the champion plays. The compression numbers got smaller on the box, harder to find, sometimes vanished entirely, and a whole generation of us, myself included, stopped matching and started imitating. There's a physicist named Robert Adair, a professor at Yale, who wrote a book called The Physics of Golf back in 1990. He laid out in cold, hard science exactly how energy transfers from the club head to the ball and how much of that transfer depends on properly loading and releasing the ball's core. Reading through that kind of work, the pattern was undeniable. This wasn't opinion. This was physics that had been understood for a century and then conveniently forgotten by the people selling us balls. So I understood the theory now. I understood I'd been playing the wrong ball for years. But understanding it in my head wasn't enough. I'm the kind of person who needs to see it with my own eyes before I'll believe it. So I decided to run my own test, and what happened next genuinely embarrassed me. I went out and I bought a spread of balls across the whole compression range. On the firm end, I kept my usual premium tour ball, the one around 90 compression that I'd been loyal to for years. In the middle, I grabbed a couple of medium options, balls rated somewhere around 60. And on the soft end, I bought the cheap-looking stuff I'd always avoided, balls rated in the 30s. One of them, a soft model that cost less than half of what my tour ball cost, is rated somewhere around 35 compression. I felt a little silly buying it. That feeling was about to cost me my pride. I found an empty range with a launch monitor, one of those units that reads your ball speed and your carry distance, and I hit ball after ball, keeping everything else the same. Same driver, same tee height, same swing I've had for 30 years, right around that 75 mile per hour mark. I hit a dozen of each, and I wrote the numbers down like a man doing his taxes. The tour ball, my expensive pride and joy, carried the shortest. My soft, cheap, embarrassing 35 compression ball carried the farthest, and it wasn't close. We're talking a difference of somewhere between 8 and 12 yards a carry, ball after ball, average against average. The soft ball came off the face faster and climbed into the air easier. The tour ball felt, in the machinist's words, like it never woke up. Let me put that in money terms, because that's what finally got through to me. I was paying roughly $50 a dozen to lose 10 yards. The ball that gained me those 10 yards cost me around $20 a dozen. I had spent years, and I mean years, paying double the price for the privilege of hitting it shorter. If you had designed a system to fleece a guy like me, you couldn't have done a better job. And here's where I know exactly what some of you are thinking, because I thought it too. You're thinking, that's fine for a guy who can get on a launch monitor. That's fine for someone with time to buy 6 different boxes and run a science experiment. I just want to play my Saturday round with what I've got. I hear you. I was that guy standing in the shop with no interest in turning golf into homework. So let me give you something you can do right now, this weekend, without a launch monitor, without spending an extra dime, using nothing but your own two eyes and the balls already sitting in your garage. Go find the oldest, softest, cheapest ball you own, the kind that came in a mixed bag or that you found in the woods, something with a low compression. Play it for 3 holes. Then switch to your good expensive ball for 3 holes. Don't measure anything with a machine. Just watch where the ball comes down and stops. Watch the flight. Feel it off the face. Most of you are going to see the same thing I saw, plain as day, right there on your own course. The softer ball flies higher, lands softer up front, and carries a touch farther. You don't need a lab. You need to pay attention for 6 holes. That's the whole test. And if you want the simplest rule of thumb I can give you, one that costs you nothing, it's this. If your drives are carrying less than about 220 yards in the air, your swing speed is very likely in the range where a low compression ball, something rated under about 70, is going to serve you better than any tour ball on the wall. That single sentence would have saved me a decade of overpaying. You now have it, and it took you 2 minutes. But distance was only half of what I discovered, and honestly, the second half surprised me even more. I always assumed the expensive ball had to be better around the greens. That was the one thing I clung to. Sure, I told myself, maybe the soft ball flies a little farther, but the tour ball must give me more feel, more control on the short shots, the chips, and the putts, where scoring really happens. That belief was the last thing holding me to that $50 box. So I tested that too. Here's what I learned about feel that nobody tells you. Feel is not the same thing as spin, and the marketing blurs the two on purpose. The tour ball's real advantage on the short game is greenside spin, the ability to check up and stop fast. But that spin advantage only fully shows itself when you're generating serious clubhead speed and hitting crisp, professional quality wedge shots off tight lies. At my speed, with my hands playing off the ordinary fairways of an ordinary public course, I was getting almost none of that theoretical spin benefit. What I was getting instead was a ball that felt like a rock off my putter and clicked hard off my wedge. The soft, low compression ball, on the other hand, felt like butter. On the putting green, the difference was almost shocking. That soft ball came off the face with a gentle, muted sound and a feel that let me control my distance on long putts far better. 3 putts from long range had been quietly wrecking my scorecard for years, and a huge part of that was that I could never judge pace with a hard ball that jumped off the putter. Switch to the soft ball, and my speed control tightened up within a single round. Think about what that means. The premium ball wasn't just costing me distance off the tee, it was costing me feel on the greens, the exact place I'd convinced myself it was helping. The one justification I had left fell apart under a putter. Now I'm going to pause here for just a moment because everything I've been walking you through, the compression research, the testing, the cold weather findings, and the full system for putting it all together, I wrote it up in a lot more depth in my digital book. It's called First Wins, and it's part of a series that includes Sharp Habits and the full system. If you're the kind of person who wants the complete picture laid out in one place with every test, every number, and every actionable step, you'll find the details in the description below. A lot of readers have told me it's the first golf resource that actually treated them like an adult who could handle the real information. That's exactly what I was going for. Now, I want to be fair because I promised you the truth and not a sales pitch. If you are a strong player who swings well over 100 miles per hour and strikes your wedges like a pro, the tour ball absolutely earns its keep, and you already know it. This whole discovery is for the rest of us. The 75-mile-per-hour swingers, the smooth and easy crowd, the players who've been made to feel like second-class golfers for not swinging out of their shoes. For us, the math is lopsided in a way that borders on offensive once you see it. And that's the part that started to make me angry, because I began to understand why I never knew any of this. Somewhere along the line, the people selling golf balls made a choice. They figured out that they could sell far more expensive balls if they convinced the average weekend golfer that the tour ball was the aspirational purchase the mark of a serious player. They stopped printing compression numbers clearly on the boxes because those numbers invited exactly the question the machinist asked me. Can you squeeze this? They didn't want you asking that question because for most of us the honest answer is no, and no doesn't sell $50 boxes. I'm not telling you there's a villain in a boardroom laughing at you. I'm telling you something quieter and, in a way, worse. I'm telling you that a piece of practical, century-old knowledge, the simple idea that you match the ball to your own swing, got deliberately allowed to fade because the fading was profitable. Your grandfather knew his compression number. You were sold a logo instead. That trade was not made in your favor, and the cost compounds year after year. Say you play golf for another 20 years, and you buy, conservatively, 4 dozen balls a season at that $50 tour price. That's around $200 a year, $4,000 over 20 years on balls engineered for a swing that isn't yours. Switch to the right low compression ball at half the price, and you cut that in half while hitting it farther and feeling it better. That's roughly $2,000 back in your pocket over those years, and a lower score the whole time. You were paying a premium to play worse. Let that sit for a second. But knowing the right ball to buy is only the beginning, because I saved the best discovery for last, and this is the one I dug out of old research that stopped me cold. Once I'd figured out the compression puzzle, I got obsessed. I started reading everything I could find about golf ball performance, including the dusty technical stuff most players never touch. And buried in the cold weather testing research, the studies that engineers ran to see how golf balls behave in different temperatures, I found something that has nothing to do with which ball you buy and everything to do with how you treat the ball you already own. A golf ball is temperature sensitive. That squashy core we talked about, the one that stores and releases energy, becomes stiffer and less lively when it's cold and springier and more efficient when it's warm. This isn't a small effect. The testing on this goes back decades, and the findings are remarkably consistent. A golf ball that has gone cold loses distance, and the colder it gets, the more it loses. Researchers found that a ball chilled down can give up meaningful yardage compared to that same ball at a comfortable room temperature on the order of a couple of yards for roughly every 10 degrees Fahrenheit it drops. Chill a ball down near freezing, and you can lose a substantial chunk of your carry, ball after ball, without any change to your swing at all. Now think about how you actually treat your golf balls. Where do they live? For most of us, they live in the garage, or in the trunk of the car, or in the pocket of a golf bag that sat overnight in a cold shed. On a cool morning round, you pull a ball straight out of that cold bag, and it's already stiff and dead before you ever put it on the tee. You're not just playing the wrong compression. You're playing a ball that's been refrigerated into a lump. Here's the trick, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Keep 2 balls in play and rotate them. Before your round, bring your sleeve of balls inside the night before so they start at room temperature. Then, during the round, especially when it's cool out, keep a spare ball in your front pants pocket close to your body. Your body heat keeps it warm. Every couple of holes, switch to the warm ball from your pocket and let the one you were playing warm back up in there. You're always teeing up the warm one. On a chilly morning, that simple rotation can hand you back several yards on every single drive for free with balls you already own. I tested this on a cold spring morning. 1 ball straight from the cold trunk and one that had been riding warm in my pocket for a few holes. The warm ball won every time. It came off the face faster, it flew higher, and it carried farther. And I hadn't done a thing differently. It felt like cheating. It's not. It's just physics that the engineers knew that the old-timers who kept a ball in their pocket knew by instinct, and that got quietly forgotten in an era when we're taught the only way to gain distance is to buy something new. Put the 2 discoveries together and you've got a complete system that costs you less than what you're spending right now. Play a low compression ball matched to your 75 mile per hour swing, somewhere down in the 35 to 60 compression range, for 8 to 12 yards of free carry and far better feel on the greens. Then keep that ball warm and rotate it out of your pocket for several more yards on a cool day. You're looking at getting back close to a full club of distance and spending half the money with knowledge that used to be common and got buried under a marketing wall. That machinist on the 9-hole track handed me a $20 ball in a single sentence, and it unraveled a decade of me paying more to play worse. I felt cheated when I understood it. But underneath the anger, I felt something better. I felt like I'd gotten something back that was always supposed to be mine. The simple, sturdy idea that you fit your equipment to yourself, not to a stranger on television. If you've ever stood on a tee and felt small watching a slower, older, weaker-looking player fly it past you, I want you to remember it was never about you. It was about the ball in your hand and the story you were sold about it. You're the kind of person who suspects that a lot of useful, plain-spoken knowledge got quietly pushed aside so somebody could sell you the expensive version. You're right to suspect it. This is one small proof that you were right all along. So here's what I want to know from you, and I'm asking you straight, because I read every comment on these. What compression is the ball you're playing right now, and did you even know it had a number before you watched this? Go check the box, or look it up, and tell me down in the comments. If you've been playing a tour ball at 75 miles per hour, I especially want to hear from you, because I was you, and I want to know if this lands the way it landed for me. Leave the comment. Don't just nod at the screen and scroll away. Type it out. It helps more people than you'd think find this. And if you believe, like I do, that a whole library of practical, money-saving, self-reliant knowledge got buried on purpose so we'd keep buying the expensive version of everything, then come along with the rest of us who are digging it back up, one forgotten trick at a time. Because the next thing I tested is going to bother a lot of people. It's about the golf clubs themselves, and a decades-old fitting truth about shaft flex that the big brands would very much prefer the 75-mile-per-hour crowd never figured out. I ran the test. The results were not what I expected, and I'll show you every number. Everything I just showed you was only the overview. Inside the old way circle, I go so much deeper. The full ball fitting, your swing speed matched core by core, and in there, you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime. One click.